Honda e versus VW ID3, the clash of the small EVs. This will be so interesting, will be so much fun. Look at that, the Honda e in a more angular retro styling, and I think this is the vehicle that VW should have built design-wise in a Golf 1 design. Instead, they went for a more round retro design, reminding of the VW Beetle. The question is, which one do you like better design-wise? I think my favorite already right now, here just in front, definitely the Honda e, but there's of course more to come. Let's go with all the technical details. And starting here, round headlamps. There we go, also with the daytime running light inside. The charging flap, soon more to that, is here, placed very prominently in the front. Not such a cool thing because it catches a lot of attention and also has more problems. I will show you the problems very soon. Whereas the ID3 here, the headlamp design goes here with the daytime running light, and this dot structure is, for example, inside the grille as well. And the most interesting thing today, I think, the ID3 is a small vehicle, but look at that in comparison to the Honda e. This looks huge and this looks tiny, so it's already really way more narrow. And one interesting design detail here already, classical mirrors versus camera mirrors on the Honda e right here. So this, very interesting. Will it fail like in the Audi e-tron, or is it good here? We'll find out later. Now let's check out the rear. I think both really nice from design. Honda e, once again, just like it almost looks like a mirror of the front, just with the red lights, of course. And especially when you have the white paint, you have a great contrast then to the black elements. And once again, the square design, and also the upper house smaller than the lower part. The ID3, more, let's say, contemporary design, definitely, but also very well done. And you also have these black contrasts in here and the VW retro logo. Top speed, 160 kilometers an hour or 100 miles an hour for the ID3, whereas we have 145 kilometers an hour or 90 miles an hour for the Honda e. Well, not too big of a difference, but interesting also. Let's already talk about the battery sizes, because at the price point, these two cars here, around 35,000 euros. But for this very price, you have a 35 kilowatt hour battery in the Honda e and a 58 kilowatt hour battery in the VW ID3. Here you also get a smaller one and a bigger one, but the price comparison directly between these two cars, you get way bigger battery here with this vehicle and also lower energy consumption. So the total range then, maximum 400 kilometers or 250 miles, whereas with the Honda e, maximum 200 kilometers or 125 miles. So the ID3 as it stands here right now, double the range, and when you pick the bigger battery, even higher the range. And when you have some like cold conditions and so on, the Honda e will even drop further down. So it's still quite cold today and was even colder earlier. And when you have the heating and so on, we rather got towards like 150 kilometers or closer to 100 miles in the range. So range is the biggest problem of the Honda e. This is a pure city vehicle. Well, we heard about the range flaw with the Honda e, but here, what about the charging flaw? It looks spectacular here, and it's more like, motor show alike to show this off. But I mean, why so huge, and why then at this place, and why with such a huge flap? And what about the rain comes inside? And I mean, okay, I have to do this. Just when it rains here, like this. I mean, you see, it does rinse away. Yes, that works. Still, however, when it rains, you have it all, rainy inside there. So not the best solution, but at least you see the water goes, goes through here. Very interesting. But that's live on Autogefühl. That's why we're here. So recharging is 11 kilowatt AC or 60 kilowatt DC. That's another thing where the Honda e is not that fast. But yeah, once again, this car is mainly thought that you take it at home and recharge it at home every day basically. So that's what it's for, using it in the city. And then the DC charging is also not that crucial. So here in recharging, the ID3 also leads it, 11 kilowatt AC, and 100 kilowatt DC, 125 kilowatt DC will be possible soon as well. And of course makes even more sense when you go for the bigger battery, because here you will also get a 77 kilowatt hour battery. Then you are even better in the range, maximum of 500 kilometers or 300 miles. This is also somewhat a good compromise already, but you know, since the battery size are not that large yet, in most cases, at the moment I would rather go with bigger batteries. I know smaller batteries are, you know, theoretically better for the environment. But on the other hand, it makes more sense when you get one vehicle and can do everything with it and don't need like two vehicles like a Honda e and then also a petrol engine at the same time. And I also really wanted to test the wall box that comes with the ID3, optional of course. You can order one in a corporate design. It's the same wall box technology-wise for Seat and Skoda and Cupra, for example. Maximum 11 kilowatt AC, but of course lower than when your house or when your basement garage doesn't support more. And the installation goes like half a day and has to be done by someone professional, of course. And the cost for the more extended version is around 1,000 euros. Then you can also have an LTE module that you can also use it with your smartphone and also plan the charging and so on. But it doesn't necessarily work in the basement garage when there's no signal in the basement garage, so that's the catch. Good thing for the experience here is it's really silent while loading. Other wallboxes in my basement garage, they make loud noises while charging. This one here is actually very silent, so overall I'm quite happy with the installation. No frunks whatsoever, neither for the ID3, oh let's clean it here a little bit, nor for the Honda e. That's a pity, but let's talk about the power figures anyway in here now. Because we have 136 or optional 154 horsepower for the Honda e. 8.3 seconds is the acceleration figure. The ID3 is quicker. We either have 150 horsepower or 204 horsepower. And then either you are half a second faster, or then in this case, because we have the 204 horsepower version here, 1 second faster. So 8.3 seconds, and here 7.3 seconds for the ID3 sprint to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. But the cool thing is, both vehicles are rear-wheel drive. Yes! Oh, and look at that here. The Honda e wins the gas struts game. It does have it, the ID3 does not. Lengthwise, the ID3 is way longer, 4 meters 26 or 168 inches. Also 18 to 20 inch wheels. These are the biggest 20 inch wheels in an aerodynamic style, and the side profile with the dropping line right here. And the car leans a little bit forward design wise. I mean, it's still a short car, but the Honda e is even shorter. 3 meters 92 or 154 inches, 16 or these here, the optional 17-inch wheels, and look at how tiny it is. So it's like, you know, like this shorter, and you see it's also more narrow. Interesting, and more of this box design and the contrasting roof to that. Here, once again, you can see it also changes design-wise something, and also better for aerodynamics when you don't have the real side mirrors. So what do you think? What would be your design pick, Honda e or ID3? I can just say again, just by the looks, this car is so much fun. You have to like it, don't you? Key fob comparison. Not a fan of either of that one. The VW one looks stylish, but yeah, the high gloss black, not a fan of that. And this one looks rather old school. Whatever, keyless entry, because when you get close to the car, usually these handles, they come automatically towards you and then you just have to open them. Door closing sound. Yeah, super weird door closing sound, we have to say that, but you see the door is very slim, and that's, for example, good when you lower the window and look outside, or when you try to assess what's next to you. That's actually a good thing. And then, oh, I forgot my cap here. So this is really cool. Fabric, different, here a little bit brighter than here with the contrast and so on. This looks super cool, living room alike already right there. And then look at that, awesome, wow, so lovely. Matte wood right here, and then the open steering wheel, the buttons here also good quality, then lovely fabric seats in the grey Scandinavian living room design. And look at that here, how it's like a round right there, and it goes really low down. This also increases the comfort. Yeah, just have to say, really well done. And even as a tall person, you sit very well on these seats, very comfortable. You have this panoramic roof, but you can only, use this manual slider. But you know, why not? It's easily done. And then 1 m 86 6'1", yeah, here you still have some room left. So really feeling cozy, and look at that. Here's the digital aquarium, and that way I think it's also totally fine to have the aquarium. It doesn't harm anyone. It's really interesting to see that here. It's a cool feature, definitely. But you definitely see screens, 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 screens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These here are the digital mirrors, and the way they are put here in your line of sight, that's the way to go. In the Audi e-tron, you kind of had to look down because they were placed inside the doors. But here, this is a good solution, and you don't have any blind spot, and you have a realistic image of what's happening behind you. I think that's really cool. Zoom more to the screens, but once again, matte wood atmosphere, so I think the design of the interior here is on top. And yes, save the manual climate knob. That's our action here on Autogefühl. We have it here for the climate unit. Yeah, I think great user interface. And here, yeah, that's an interesting thing. Once again, using the seat heating with your knees, my special Thomas shortcut. Then the digital instruments, not too much to discover there, but it's also just fine with the speed, and also then the range here in percentage. That's always a discussion. I prefer to see the range figure, others prefer to see the percentage, or both, but at least you have the range figure then here, and then it's actually also just fine. This is, by the way, the home screen, so 2 screens, 12.3 inch. They also have the, you know, the Japanese background here, interesting, nice garden. But then you can also have individualization here. So I put the Apple CarPlay hotkey here, and the music system is actually quite decent here. So the sound we get here is, whoa, there we go, was a little bit of lag. So the music system is actually very decent, like that. And you can also switch around these. So this is like a switch button. So the co-driver can have here the power flow, and then you can switch it around what you want to see, and have the switch battles in the interior between the passenger and the driver. Might be a little bit distracting indeed. How the solution is here is something a little bit complicated, and also how the GPS looks like is really not up to date. It could also be a little bit faster. So I think they meant well with the infotainment system, but the overall solution is maybe a little bit complicated and also not too fast enough for modern EVs. Yeah, and once again, I think the image quality here of the side mirrors is actually very decent. Middle console, not sure if it's that clever to have 1, B, reverse, neutral, D, so 4 buttons then for the driving modes. It's maybe a little bit too complicated. And then this is then the button for the recuperation, and here you can change the driving modes, normal or sport. So rather straightforward. And then you can split these here and have another, you know, more drinks in that or something. But overall, this is then kept quite simple. Then in the lower area, HDMI port, that's very rare, and you can maybe use your PlayStation here or something. Then a real power socket in the front, that's also super rare, so why not? Good idea. And here a place to put your smartphone, for example. And then we have an interesting solution here for the cup holder. You can slide it out like this. Let's check out the interior of the ID3 now. First of all, door closing sound. Yeah, that's better. Good door closing sound. So there the ID3 wins it. Then hard pack materials. Oh, there the Honda e has the lead. This is the leatherette. That's actually quite cool. But the overall styling is more budget alike, I would say, than here. I really don't like the side mirror control here because you always have to look at that. And the rest of the interior, on the one hand, looks modern. On the other hand, yeah, I mean, here the small display that is connected directly to the steering wheel doesn't make the best impression, but at least, you know, you have a great head-up display. That is cool with augmented reality arrows, and that's why you can also keep the digital instruments somewhat simplified. Capacitive buttons at the steering wheel, not to my liking. There, the real buttons of the Honda are better. It looks fancy also with the illumination, but to control it while driving is worse. Nice fabric seats here as well. However, the fabric of the Honda is a little bit more breathable. So there again, the Honda has a little bit of a lead. However, the seating comfort is actually quite good, and also the the spacious atmosphere. However, the windscreen in the front, has a different angle of the Honda and stands more upright, and therefore you have a better view all around. Other than that, you have a good seating position and van style like on the exterior. Yeah, it is. And also here on the interior, because you have real armrests like this. And with 1 m 86 or 6'1", You also have some headroom here left, and the panoramic roof here with a slider. And I mean, these sliders here, yeah, again, less buttons, more sliders, more capacitive buttons. Not a good trend in the car industry. We are fighting against it, not only against animal seating, but also, once again, for you guys, that we keep the buttons in the interior. I'm really trying hard. Some success already. We'll keep trying. So in the digital instruments, you cannot switch too much, just, you know, more like this, but it gives you the speed and that's it, and also the range. The gear selector is here, forward to drive, that's reverse and P. Easy and nice integrated simple solution, why not? And by the way, there in the front you can see there's light right there in the front, and this is like a little bit communicating with you depending on what you do, like putting in gears, or you know, also when you use the GPS, it shows also with the color and the signature right there in the direction. Interesting. Then the infotainment system, 10-inch. And they recently had a software update. So far, you know, it was really bad. Now it's a little bit more responsive. It boots faster. Everything, the reaction times are better. So they have been working on it. So good solution for the moment. I mean, still, I'm not the biggest fan of the infotainment system, how it looks like, but it's good to see that they have made good progress in updating it. Look at that here with the Apple CarPlay. This is the integration like it is, and then we can also hop back to the main Volkswagen menu. So yeah, we waited a long time and there's still much to do, but at least they have improved things for now. And here also the energy consumption. This really proves that the range, you know, somewhat between 300 and 400 kilometers, so 200 to 250 miles, and that's way better than with the Honda e, where we had, you know, at some point almost double the energy consumption figures. So that's the most important thing where the ID3 leads. However, where it doesn't lead, the capacitive volume control and the capacitive climate control, yeah, that's something what we don't really need. Let's see, why is it still off? There we go. Huh? Why is it not available at the moment? Sorry, this function is currently under... Ah, there we go. Thank you, Thomas 2. Thomas 2, our cameraman for the day. So now we go here and either clicking or sliding like this. But again, while driving, yeah, you can use the voice control. That would be one solution. Set temperature to 20 degrees. That takes a while.
Setting the minimum temp.
That worked. Not. Middle console with adaptive cup holders right here. And then there's this middle part for the smartphone, inductive charging pad, but this split here is somehow strange, I would say. And a lot of space here, but yeah, when you leave the armrest, like, squish, squish. And then USB-C chargers too, and then you can split these like this. Yeah, we've seen similar things in the Honda e. So overall, a lot of space because, you know, there's no middle tunnel whatsoever for any transmission or something. Of course, you can also put these armrests up and you have a better access. This is, by the way, the Connect app by VW. There you can also have remote control of the AC unit and see the remaining, you know, status of the battery and so on. So yeah, why not? You can also have a GPS view here, and then, for example, also of the next charging stations. If it would load, at the moment we have no signal here or hardly any signal. And then once again here, the remaining range. Now the rear seating comparison here with the Honda e. It's a small, short vehicle. When I'm driving like this, I cannot sit here properly. I would need to put the seat a little bit higher and a little bit more to the front. Headroom wise, this exactly fits, but I mean, it's really short, so that's actually okay. The using of space is totally fine, and it's actually quite cozy in the rear bench. You have two seats and the fabric is soft and plush, so I wouldn't mind it at all. It's not thought out to be for 4 tall adults, but when you're a little bit smaller, it's okay. You also have Isofix for the child seats and so on. So why not the solution here? And you can also easily like this here, fold the bench already from here. Now let's switch over here with the ID3, and of course the wheelbase plays a big role here. I can sit here as a tall adult, so this is 4 tall adult proof. And headroom wise, also a little bit more than in the Honda e. Here you can also see the nice panoramic roof. You cannot open it, but there's a slider then. And here there's also the middle seating available. This also works, gets a little bit closer with the head then. More thought that you use the outside seats, but here you can have 3 passengers. So definitely when rear passengers is a thing for you, then the ID3 definitely leads it. And then in the middle part you also have cup holders and also a ski hatch. A little bit, you know, Golf alike, and that's also the thing. The length is rather like a Polo, but the interior space is rather like a Golf. There we go. Or even better than a Golf, actually. Like a Golf long wheelbase. So that's definitely where the ID3 is leading this comparison. Trunk test, the fight of the small EVs. You see here the Honda e. It's just occupied with 1 cabin trolley. The length is 22 inches or 56 centimeters. And the width here, yeah, more like this. Yeah, so close to 1 meter or 40 inches. So not too much. And then you can fold down the whole bench like this. It's also possible. The ID3 here, a little bit more flexible. Way longer here at 30 inches or 75 centimeters. And even a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches. And you can see here the cabin trolley doesn't look lost in here. Yeah, so definitely also here 1 more point for the ID3 and also even more space underneath. Welcome to Thomas's comparison driving lounge. Today here starting with the Honda e, and of course these digital mirrors or the cameras, they are one of the highlights here. And you know, I have been criticizing them a lot in the Audi e-tron because the monitors were placed up. Oh, that Taycan is sprung up. A lot of water on the road here. So they were placed like here, and you always had to look down. Here, they are placed, you know, more in your line of sight, so you are actually looking less down than in traditional mirrors, and that's actually okay. So here in this case, I think they're actually quite good. They're not that necessary, but they're actually quite decent. Maybe also see that here now. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. Here on the right side, there's no blind spot, but there's still an optional blind spot monitor, which then appears right here in this area. But really great visibility to the rear. You have a good feeling, good understanding of what's happening behind you. So I'm kind of surprised by that and really positively surprised. Very cool. And then, I mean, yeah, a little bit of screen overload definitely while driving, and I think also the solution to, you know, to the control input here with the screen is not ideal. Here the volume knob is rather for the passenger. I can also control it on the steering wheel. That's a little bit easier then. But the most important thing here, and that's also why I started with city driving, it's a super fun vehicle, super agile in the slalom here. It's very short and just awesome to drive it, and you feel the square dimensions it has on the outside. It has a kind of retro feel. Oh, I did activate the seat heating here with my knees. I think I showed it on the IAA Motor Show as well. Here, it's like, yes. Heat the seat heating control with my knees. That's awesome skills, right? Yeah. I mean, this car is definitely delivering you a lot of fun. You also have the sports mode. In the sports mode, the steering gets a little bit stiffer and there's more throttle input as soon as you hit it. It's pretty quick. Not as quick as the ID3, but the main difference to me is the design on the exterior somehow also reflects the driving. Here you more feel this square cage, and this gives you a little bit more retro feeling, to me at least. And of course, the ID3 is a little bit quicker and it's definitely longer. That is the main driving difference. Here, for the city, for city use only, I think it's the better vehicle. It's just shorter and you can find a narrow parking spot way easier. It can also be alternative for a Smart 4 or something. And it's just so much fun to ease it around. At the same time, this seating position is super comfortable, upright. These great fabric seats here, they are awesome. So you have a small vehicle, but there's no compromise on comfort. I mean, driving comfort from suspension, yeah, I mean, it's rather stiff as for suspension, so there's not the best comfort from suspension, but it's still quite okay. Both electric vehicles here in our test today, they drive extremely well. They are a lot of fun, especially at lower speeds. I mean, we talked about the cameras, but the other visibility around just by your own eyes, all the way around is awesome. And I mean, it's just super practical. So this car brings feelings of more, let's say, small base vehicles from 20 years ago or something. At the same time, all interpreted by modern technology, and that's really awesome. Again, the infotainment system could be controlled better, I think, but yeah, that's maybe me, I don't know. Then, one pedal driving or rolling. Either rolling or with button press here in low. Recuperation, stronger one. Not as strong one as with some other EVs we know, but you do feel the deceleration, and you can also control it here at the steering wheel. Here make it a little bit less, or left side a little bit more, and then to the final third stage, which automatically gets activated when you press this single recuperation button there in the middle part. So usually I would leave it with the normal driving mode and also the strongest recuperation, because as soon as you go off the throttle, you also already have some deceleration, and that's actually good. It's also better for safety, because when you go off the throttle, most of the time you also want to decelerate, especially in the city, and that's what, situation like these, pedestrians coming, and in the second I switch from the driving pedal to the brake, throttle pedal, do we still call it throttle in EVs? I have to discuss that. So then already decelerating is happening, and that's good. Turning indicators, do you even hear them? It's a little bit like you have a small tin can and like clock, clock, clock. Oh, that was misleading. I could have gone right there. Sorry, guys. Yeah, very strange and unique turning indicator sound. It almost doesn't make a sound at all, and the sound that you do hear is somehow weird. Yeah, but it really fits to this vehicle. So many details are also really, really unique, and I just have to say, also from driving, I love this vehicle. Still a little bit irritated by the infotainment system. It could be a little bit easier, I think, but besides that, I just love driving this vehicle. Then driver assistance systems, keeping me in the lane somewhat smoothly, although this is construction site here, so that's well done. So keeping the speed and also the lane at the same time, and it's probably the best ever we've seen by a Honda, indeed. And not only, saying that it would be relatively bad or something. We have just a few cars who are mastering the assistance system tests inside this construction lane here. And by the way, if you want to play with your passenger, with the infotainment system here, they can switch around which is displayed on the left and the right also while driving, and have maybe like a game with the passenger there. Yeah. And talking about games, let's put it to sports mode, and we close this driving part with the final acceleration from 30 kilometers an hour, and we'll drop in when it's safe. Let's see, it's not safe. And let's go. That's 100 kilometers. And there it is, 150 kilometers an hour, top speed. The official one is 145, but I mean the tachometer always goes a little bit further, just for that you can't, complain afterwards. And I mean, now quite some wind noise definitely here, but the car is still stable. As for the handling and so on, suspension here shows that it's not that stiff actually at higher speeds. Yeah, but the car doesn't feel that much at home at these speeds, definitely, but quite okay for that. So let's drop to a reasonable speed where I don't hear that wind noise. I mean, it's also windy outside, you have to say, today, so 120 kilometers an hour, that's more, where the car feels at home, definitely, or even lower than that. A little bit on the brakes here, 1 kilometers an hour, that's better. And here also then, see here, when I shake it a little bit, the suspension leans just, a little bit as well. And that's again this city focus. It's not, and I think it's good that it's not too stiff. We have a lot of vehicles nowadays which are set just on super stiff notes and making it sporty and sporty and sporty, and not so many people really use that then or have something from that. Acceleration, a little bit worse than in the ID3. Here also with the, when you compare 150 to the other 150 horsepower version, then also this one is a little bit worse. But still, I think it was reasonably quick. Of course, high speeds not really meant to do with this vehicle here. And if we drive the car as we have driven it here now, then we are rather at about 100 kilometers or 60 miles of range. So, wow, a huge range drop, definitely. So that is the one thing about this vehicle. It's so much fun, it's so unique, but the range, really have to say, is absolute rubbish. And now driving the ID3, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, of course, it's a little bit different seating position, and of course the whole chassis feels different. The hardware that went into this vehicle is really awesome. It's a great chassis, great platform, and it's also super stiff, and it's also a lot of fun to drive. Of course, you feel that the wheelbase is longer, so the Honda e feels more city-like because it's just a shorter vehicle. But this one here, considering the space you have on the inside, it already feels really sporty and is a lot of fun to drive. Also, the steering is, for both vehicles, very precise, very direct. So very happy with the steering again for both vehicles, how the reaction is there. Throttle input is a little bit more spontaneous here with the ID3. It has a little bit more power, and as I said, acceleration figure here in this very comparison. This one, the 204 horsepower version, a second quicker in the acceleration, and also a little bit higher top speed. The cruise thing is really the range, which is kind of double here in the ID3. This will be the most crucial thing. You can use this vehicle here inside the city. It's short enough, but you can also use it on the motorway. We'll soon, of course, also head on out to the motorway, show the performance there, and also noise insulation and so on. This is the cool thing about the vehicle. You can have different purposes for it and not only city driving. So definitely also a lot of fun. The overview is not as good as in the Honda e when I look to the side, front and so on. But you also have a good blind spot monitor that is more crucial than here with this vehicle, and normal mirrors. I'm always happy with normal solutions in a way. The infotainment system, meanwhile, better to control also while driving. Of course, it's not the best thing, and also for controlling the temperature. I still prefer the manual knobs in the Honda e, but since the software update, definitely better reaction times now. It's faster and overall easier than to control since the recent update. Here, lower speeds, you feel, there's a little bit more silence here in this vehicle already, and I guess it will be even more obvious when we then get to some higher speeds very soon. Suspension-wise, by the way, the ID3 will be available with the DCC, not equipped with this vehicle yet. So then the adaptive suspension will improve the comfort. Here with the base suspension is doing a good job, it's fine. But we have the 20-inch wheels mounted here, and that can be rough at times. So base suspension plus 20-inch wheels is not a setup I would recommend. That definitely reduces the riding comfort. It's overall fine, but at times when we have some bumps in the road, a little bit too stiff, I think. Well, and then of course recuperation. Either you have a normal D driving mode, lift the foot of throttle, it just rolls. Or push it here to the front, D driving mode, lift the throttle, and then there's recuperation. But once again, not super strong, not like in the Tesla, for example, but definitely notable, and I also recommend to keep it in the B mode. And this one here has some quite good punch, so it's definitely also suitable to get on the motorway. And the rear-wheel drive concept for both vehicles ensures really small turning circles. That's cool. Of course, the Honda e, a little bit shorter vehicle, even better, but this one here already with a very narrow or small turning circle. This is one of the big advantages of the rear-wheel drive concept, so you have more inclination than of the front wheels. And of course, more driving control when you get out of the corners. You just don't have this typical pull from the front effect, but the push from the rear, and that's very cool. As for assistance systems, you also have the travel assist in here. To control that one and to set it at the steering wheel is always a hassle to do, once again with the capacitive buttons. Then you still have here one short click for +1 kilometer and harder click for +10 kilometers for the setting there. Yeah, that's really not that good to realize. The head-up display, however, is once again cool. I can now see some lines there also in there, and the travel assist keeps the car here also in lane and in a rather smooth way. So assistance systems wise, also on top of the game, definitely capacitive steering wheel, so you don't have to move the steering wheel, the car still knows you're here. However, the catch of that is when you go for this travel assist, you also get the animal wrap for the steering wheel. You can get a completely animal-free car when you go for the base version of the ID3 here, but they're also developing another solution for that. The Honda e, by the way, also comes with the animal skin steering wheel, so also not entirely animal-free, that interior. And now, the last test for today is the speed test, the high motorway speed test here with the ID3. And here we go. We also start from 30 kilometers an hour. Let's go. $100. And now at 160 kilometers an hour, 163 it's doing. Yep. So around 100 miles per hour. That's actually quite okay then. Yes, the top motorway speed, and I feel that the noise insulation is better than in the Honda e. Of course, this is a speed where it's also not too pleasant to be with. Yeah. Then let's hit the recuperation. Just lift my foot off the throttle. And here at 130 kilometers an hour, that's okay travel speed. And here you feel definitely way more silent and definitely better behaving at higher speeds. Here also the rather stiff setup of the suspension and the bigger wheels play a good role because the car is not shaking up at all. So very good also from the handling at higher speeds. And here more recuperation, or I'm not sure if there's also a braking effect. Then the rear brakes are being applied when you exceed the deceleration factor that can just be done by recuperation. So definitely on the motorway, the ID3 wins it, both in range and also in the driving dynamics and the agility, also at higher speeds, and also in the noise insulation. Even more so proves the point that the Honda e is the super fun city vehicle. The ID3, however, is an all-rounder vehicle with a good range, especially then if you even step it up the game and get it with a bigger battery. You can have this as a primary vehicle and it serves a lot of different purposes. It's definitely an EV that is very well done. Here, one more perspective in the tunnel. A little bit of ambient lighting right there. I think they could have done maybe a little bit better. Yeah, but definitely also interesting to see that. So driving-wise, from the driving parts, what would you conclude? Looking forward to your opinion. But what's my conclusion? Let's find out. And now to our conclusion for today, the big EV comparison of the small electric vehicles. Recently we've shown you also the Model 3 from Tesla versus the Polestar 2. Also tune into this review if you haven't seen it yet. But the conclusion here for today has been so much fun. I hope you enjoyed it the way that we did. The Honda e, design-wise, the king clearly to me. I wish VW had built a Golf 1 electric vehicle styling-wise. That would have been so amazing. So the range and the technology, the chassis of the ID3, but with the design of the Honda e, that would be my wish for today. Is it also yours? Tell me in the comments. The ID3, more this roundish design. On the interior, also the Honda e leads it to me because this very cool and Scandinavian design, grey fabric, and also with the screens and so on. A rare case of a great integration of digital camera mirrors. However, it also boosts up the price. Probably it would have been more clever to leave it with normal mirrors than overall. And a little bit of screen overload it is as well, you have to say. And the software, the infotainment could be a little bit easier to use, I think. Infotainment system in the ID3 finally updated now. That's great news. In our first test it was rather rubbish. Now you can finally use it quite properly, and you see that they are also working on that. So big hope for all also existing ID3 customers, and also for everyone like Skoda, Seat, Golf, like Seat Leon, VW Golf, Skoda Octavia. They will also receive updates, and great news that they have been working on that. Rear bench, usable with the ID3. This one here rather a two-seater with emergency seats on the rear and also smaller trunk. So the question is, for what purpose do you use the vehicle? This is a pure city vehicle because the range is so low. Yeah, I mean, maximum 200 kilometers or 125 miles, rather way lower. This one here in the middle battery, 400 kilometers max or 250 miles, a little bit less than in winter times, and even more than with the bigger battery. So the ID3 can be a primary vehicle, and you can do everything with that, especially in the biggest battery version. This is a solely city vehicle. You recharge at home, use it for city drives, and that's it. So if you want that fancy stuff, and this car is so much fun. And I have to say, it is more fun than the ID3, although this one already drives very well. So this to me, the super fun car, but only if you have city use only and you are totally fine, you know that the range is hardly existent at all. Then it's a use case. Other than that, price performance wise, the ID3 wins it overall because it's the more useful vehicle, I have to say. It also has some fun elements, and the interior is also very interesting, but definitely coolness factor goes to the Honda e, and on paper the ID3 definitely wins it from all the facts considered. So what do you think? Really looking forward to your comments about these cars. Which one would you pick and why? Really looking forward to your opinion. I hope you enjoyed this review. See you next time.